If you've been following along with me, you know that Google Docs is now made up of 3 different applications. We have a word processing application, one for spreadsheets, and another for presentations. Well, this is the first chapter where we actually focus in now on one of the applications, in this case, the word processing application built into Google Docs. And to explore that user interface, we need to have a word processing document open on our screens. To do that, we can open an existing one just by clicking it anywhere here in the Google Docs home, or we can create a new word processing document. So let's talk about creating a new one. When we go up to the New button here in the top left corner, at the Google Docs home, we can create new word processing documents, spreadsheets, or presentations. I'm going to choose the very first one, Document, and this will launch the word processing application in a separate window. Keep that in mind because windows can begin to pile up if you don't know that you're in a new one. For example, here on this user interface, you'll notice the Docs Home up here. If I click on the Docs Home link, I'll be returned to my Docs Home, but I won't be closing up this actual file that I've started here in the word processing application. So if I forget about it, it can pile up, but the nice thing is I can flip back to it if I need to without having to save it and close it. It'll always be open sitting here waiting for me to come back to. Let's explore this user interface. Very familiar if you've used word processing applications like Word or WordPerfect. Up here at the top in our header section, we see the name of our file, currently untitled. As I start typing though, a brand new name will be created for me based on the very first bit of text that I type. Of course, we can rename that, and we'll talk about doing that a little bit later on. You also see some information about when it was last edited. In this case, you can see June 16, 2008 on my screen, and the time, and by who. Now, as I make changes and save those changes, of course, this information changes as well, and I get what's called a revision history. We'll see that momentarily as well. Now, to the right-hand side is a share button. Here's where I go to invite people to share my documents. Maybe they need to add input or share feedback. When I click the share drop-down, I go here to share with others. We'll talk about that in detail later on. I could also do it the old school way. Email this document as an attachment, accessing my email application, and it's automatically attached to the email I send out to whoever I choose. Down below, you'll see Publish and View as a web page, so I can preview it first. If the intention is to create a web page out of this document, it's great to be able to preview it and then eventually publish it as a web page that can be posted on a website. So we'll talk about doing that kind of stuff later on. I've got 2 save options here. Save to update my changes, continue working on my document, or save and close, which will save my changes and close up the document so I can come back to it later from the Google Docs home. Let's go to the menu bar. I'm going to click here in an empty space just to close up that open menu. And let's talk about File, Edit, View, and all the way across to Help. Look familiar? Like most applications that have a menu bar, these are menu headings, and clicking on them displays the contents of the pull-down menu. When I click File, for example, I'm going to see file-related commands. Here's where I go to create another new document. Notice that I can also create other types of documents right from here in the word processing application. I can create a new spreadsheet document or a new presentation right from here. It's kind of cool. It will obviously open up those applications to allow me to do that. Also, we've got some other file commands here like saving. We've got renaming. The revision history is available to us right from here on the File menu. I can delete files. Download files as different formats. We'll be doing this later too. There's PDF, Word, HTML, rich text format, text, and open office formats. Here's where I go to print. If I want to access print settings first or go directly to the print dialog, you can see that I've got those here on this menu as well. I can print them as a web page and view as a web page from here too. Notice too that we've got some shortcuts. Now, we need to be careful about these. For example, Control-P is a shortcut to open up the print dialog box. I know it's going to be a dialog box because of the little dots I see here, the ellipses after print. That represents another little window will open up where I'll have some print options. Control-P is a keyboard shortcut if you're on a Windows PC. Now, if you've used a Mac and you've never used a PC, there is a Control key, a booster key that's labeled Control right on the Mac keyboard, but the equivalent is the Command key. So for me here on the Mac, Command P is going to display the print dialog box. Let's test this out. I'll just click in an empty space. We haven't typed anything yet, but if we wanted to print this, if you're on a Windows PC, try Control P. I'm on a Mac. I'm going to do a Command P. Holding down Command, tap the P, and look at that. It opens up my little sheet here for choosing a printer, presets. Of course, here's where I go to actually print. I can preview from here as well. I'm going to click cancel. There's nothing to print at this time. So Mac users, just keep that in mind. Wherever you see Control, it's really Command. We've got some other menus like Edit with editing commands, undo, redo, cut, copy, paste, find and replace. We'll look at those later. Under View, this is important. Currently, you can see a check mark here for me next to Normal Plain View. You may have noticed down below here I've got a flashing cursor in this great big white space. Typically in a word processing application, you'll get an idea where the edge of the paper is, your margins, and so on. To get that same feel here in Google Docs, you need to choose Fixed Width Page View, which I personally prefer. I'm going to click on it now to switch to that view, and now I get the borders, the outline of where my sheet of paper is. There's my flashing cursor, so I can see I actually do have some margins here. And now I'm ready to start typing and have a better idea for the layout of the finished product when I'm done. So if you prefer this view as well, remember from the View menu, Fixed Width Page View. Under Insert, all kinds of things we can insert into a document here. Pictures, links, tables, comments, special characters, those not found on the keyboard. We'll do that later. Horizontal lines, a great way to separate text. In that previous view, page breaks for printing come in handy, so you know exactly where you want to break the page off and start printing on the next page. Headers and footers appear here under the Insert menu as well as bookmarks. There's some formatting commands here. We can clear any formatting we've applied. Some of the formatting might be paragraph formatting like normal, minor heading, subheading, and heading options. These are predefined formats that you can apply quickly and easily. Of course, you can do any formatting you want using some of the other format options, including strikeouts, super and subscript, block quotes. There's some alignment options for left, center, right, and justified. We'll get into these later as well. Under Table, we've got a whole table menu. We'll be doing a lot of table work, inserting tables, modifying rows, columns, cells. And then we've got Tools. Here is where we find our check spelling command. Languages, we can count the number of words in our document. Manage those bookmarks. There's revision history here as well. And under Help, we've got some help options. Of course, using Google Docs, you're online, so you've got access to the Google Docs Help Center. You can learn from other Google users online, watch videos, and get your keyboard shortcuts right from here as well. And I'm going to click down here in my page. Just below the menu bar, we've got our toolbar, and these are little buttons representing commands we've already seen somewhere up in the menus. For example, we've got a Save button. There's a Print button, Undo and Redo. Here's some formatting options for formatting the font, the size, and the appearance. Check it out here. We can insert a link. We know from the Insert menu, but we can do it right from here as well. Here's Numbered and Bulleted lists. We've got indenting. There's some alignment buttons here as well. Check it out, Clear or Remove Formatting, and there's our spell checking button right there. So these are some of the commands you probably use more often than others, and that's why they appear on the toolbar. We've got a scroll bar over here on the right-hand side. We can scroll down through our documents as we create multiple pages, for example. There's the bottom of the page when I scroll all the way down to the bottom. And I'll scroll all the way back up to the top. Now we're ready to start creating our document. So we'll leave this open. In the next lesson, we start by entering text.